I never believed in ghosts or the supernatural until I visited St. Mark's Church. It was an old Gothic-style church that stood on the outskirts of town, surrounded by a dense forest that seemed to shroud it in an eerie atmosphere. The locals spoke of strange occurrences within its walls, but I dismissed their tales as mere superstitions. One cold autumn day, curiosity got the best of me. I decided to explore the church, camera in hand, to capture its unique architecture and perhaps debunk the ghostly myths once and for all. As I approached the imposing wooden doors, a shiver ran down my spine, as if some unseen presence was warning me to stay away. Ignoring my unease, I pushed open the heavy door, and it creaked ominously, echoing through the empty church. The interior was dimly lit, with flickering candles casting eerie shadows on the stone walls. The scent of old incense filled the air, mingling with a dampness that hinted at a long-abandoned place. I began taking photographs, my flashlight cutting through the darkness as I captured the church's haunting beauty. Suddenly, a faint whisper reached my ears, causing me to spin around, but the vast emptiness mocked me. "It's just my imagination," I muttered to reassure myself. As I made my way down the narrow aisle, I noticed a trapdoor near the altar, partially concealed by an old frayed rug. My heart raced, and my curiosity piqued even more. I hesitated but ultimately decided to investigate further. With a deep breath, I lifted the trapdoor, revealing a narrow, winding staircase leading into the depths below. The air grew colder, and an ominous silence enveloped me as I descended, my footsteps echoing through the darkness. At the bottom of the stairs, I found myself in a crypt, adorned with ancient tombs and faded murals. My flashlight's beam danced across the walls, illuminating long-forgotten epitaphs and religious symbols. A sudden gust of wind made the candles flicker, and I sensed an unsettling presence in the crypt. Attempting to quell my unease, I focused on photographing the crypt's intricate details. But as I captured the last image, the trapdoor above slammed shut with a resounding thud, trapping me in darkness. Panic surged through my veins, and I rushed to the stairs, but the trapdoor wouldn't budge. I tried to maintain composure, reminding myself that there must be a logical explanation for this. Perhaps the trapdoor was old, and the hinges had given way. I called out for help, but my voice seemed to get swallowed by the silence. Minutes turned into hours as I searched for another way out. In my desperate exploration, I stumbled upon a hidden chamber with a peculiar altar. It bore a chilling resemblance to an ancient sacrificial site. Fear gnawed at my soul, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. As I turned to leave the chamber, an icy gust of wind rushed through the crypt, extinguishing the candles. Darkness consumed me, and a sense of dread filled the air. The oppressive silence was broken by a soft whispering, growing louder with every passing second. "Get out! Get out!" The disembodied voices echoed in the crypt. My heart pounded in my chest as I ran blindly, desperate to escape the sinister clutches of the church. But no matter how fast I sprinted, I found myself back in the crypt, as if the church itself was playing a wicked game with my mind. Exhausted and terrified, I collapsed to my knees, tears streaming down my face. I knew then that I was not alone in St. Mark's Church, that something malevolent held sway over this cursed place. A faint glow appeared in the distance, drawing my attention to a hidden passage. Gathering my last reserves of courage, I followed the eerie light, praying it would lead me to safety. The passage led to a forgotten chamber, where a ghastly apparition materialized before me. It was a spectral figure cloaked in tattered robes, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Paralyzed by fear, I could do nothing but watch as the ghostly figure reached out toward me. But then, a voice, soft yet authoritative, echoed in my mind, urging me to stand my ground. With every ounce of willpower, I forced myself to meet the spirit's gaze. Surprisingly, the figure faltered, its form wavering, as if my determination had weakened its hold. Summoning the last of my strength, I spoke aloud, telling the spirit that I meant no harm and only sought to leave the church in peace. The apparition seemed to consider my words, and slowly it receded into the shadows, leaving me trembling in the darkness. I took that opportunity to flee, running with all my might until I burst out of the church into the fading daylight. I never looked back, leaving my camera and all evidence of my visit behind. St. Mark's Church remains a place of horror and mystery, one that I can never forget. That chilling encounter with the spirit taught me that there are forces beyond our understanding, lurking in the dark corners of the world. Now, whenever someone mentions ghosts or the supernatural, I have no doubt they exist, and I will forever carry the haunted memories of St. Mark's. I was drawn to the old church from the moment I laid eyes on its weathered facade. St. Michael's was an architectural marvel, standing tall with its Gothic spires reaching toward the heavens. The locals warned me that it was haunted, but I couldn't resist the allure of exploring its mysterious halls. One stormy night, curiosity got the better of me. Armed with a flashlight and a heart full of bravado, I ventured into the haunted church. The heavy wooden doors groaned as I pushed them open, and the sound of rain beating down outside added to the eerie atmosphere. Inside, the flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the stained glass windows, creating a mesmerizing display of colors and shapes. I made my way down the aisle, feeling a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As I moved closer to the altar, I noticed an ancient book on a lectern, its pages yellowed and leather cover worn with age. Drawn to the book, I opened it, revealing pages filled with cryptic writings and unsettling illustrations. My heart raced as I attempted to decipher the strange script. The pages seemed to depict rituals and incantations, hinting at a dark and hidden history. As I continued reading, the candles around me flickered wildly, and a cold breeze swept through the church, chilling me to the bone. A feeling of being watched engulfed me, and I couldn't shake the sensation that unseen eyes were peering into my soul. Suddenly, the candles extinguished one by one, plunging the church into darkness. Panic gripped me, and I fumbled for my flashlight, illuminating the shadows. But as the beam cut through the gloom, I saw a figure standing at the pulpit, a ghostly priest with hollow eyes and spectral robes. Fear held me in its grasp as I stumbled backward, trying to escape the haunting apparition. The ghostly priest raised his head, and his mouth moved silently as if trying to speak. I couldn't hear his words, but his intent was unmistakable. He wanted to deliver a sermon, even in his afterlife. Curiosity and terror warred within me, but an inexplicable force compelled me to stay and listen. As I cautiously approached the pulpit, a ghostly choir materialized behind the spectral priest, their ethereal voices blending into a haunting melody that echoed through the empty church. The priest began his spectral sermon, his words resonating in my mind, even if I couldn't hear them audibly. The air grew heavy with an otherworldly presence, and I felt as if I were witnessing a scene from another time, trapped between the past and the present. Images of a bygone era flashed before my eyes, a congregation of villagers, listening with rapt attention to the words of the priest. But as I observed the scene, I sensed an underlying darkness, a hidden malevolence lurking beneath the sacred facade. In a haunting crescendo, the ghostly choir's voices rose to a chilling pitch, and the ancient walls of the church seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The spectral priest's eyes locked onto mine, and a sensation of dread washed over me. As his sermon reached its climax, the spectral priest extended a bony hand toward me, beckoning me to join his congregation. My heart pounded in my chest, torn between the curiosity to uncover the church's secrets and the overwhelming desire to escape the supernatural presence. Summoning all my courage, I resisted the priest's call. The apparitions wavered, and the spectral choir's voices faltered. It was as if my defiance disrupted the flow of their spiritual performance. In that moment of weakness, I turned and ran, fleeing from the haunted church as if my life depended on it. The rain outside seemed to wash away the spectral echoes, and the thunder drowned out the ghostly choir's lament. I never returned to St. Michael's Church after that night. The haunting encounter left me with a profound sense of unease, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the church's dark history still lingered within its walls. To this day, I can't explain the Spectral Sermon or the ethereal choir, but I'm certain that some things are better left undisturbed. St. Michael's remains a haunting memory, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seemed to blur, reminding me that the world holds more mysteries than we can comprehend. The legend of All Saints Church had intrigued me for years. It was said that the church bells tolled at midnight, calling forth the spirits of the restless dead. Many locals claim to have witnessed eerie apparitions wandering among the tombstones, drawn by the haunting melody of the bells. As a paranormal investigator, I couldn't resist the allure of this haunted church. One fateful autumn night, armed with my equipment and a heart full of curiosity, I ventured into the forgotten graveyard surrounding All Saints. The church loomed before me like a silent sentinel, its ancient stones weathered by centuries of wind and rain. As the clock struck midnight, a bone-chilling wind swept through the graveyard, causing the trees to sway and the leaves to rustle like spectral whispers. I positioned myself near the bell tower, my camera and EVP, electronic voice phenomena, recorder at the ready. I waited with bated breath, anticipation mingled with trepidation. Suddenly, the bells began to chime, their mournful melody echoing through the night. With every toll, the air seemed to thicken, and an eerie glow enveloped the graveyard. The tombstones cast long shadows, taking on a sinister semblance. It was as if the souls of the deceased were awakening, drawn by the spectral tolling of the bells. I aimed my camera at the apparitions that materialized among the gravestones. Faint, ethereal figures emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured by sorrow and anguish. My heart raced as I captured the haunting images, trying to comprehend the surreal scene unfolding before me. Among the ghostly throng, I noticed a figure that stood out from the rest. A young woman dressed in a tattered white gown. Her eyes, pools of darkness, seemed to lock onto mine, sending a shiver down my spine. As I focused on the mysterious woman, the bells tolling intensified, and the atmosphere crackled with an otherworldly energy. The woman's lips moved, as if trying to form words, but no sound reached my ears. Instead, her thoughts invaded my mind like a whisper in the void. "Release us from this eternal torment," her voice resonated within my consciousness. Her plea tugged at my heartstrings, and I felt a pang of empathy for the trapped spirits. It was as if they were cursed to relive their sorrows night after night, yearning for freedom from their ethereal chains. With the haunting melody still echoing in the air, I decided to delve deeper into the church's past to uncover the source of this spectral tragedy. Legends spoke of a forbidden love affair that had taken place in the village centuries ago, a love between the young woman and a local blacksmith, whose families vehemently opposed their union. They had planned to elope under the moonlight, seeking refuge within the church's sanctuary. However, their plan was foiled by their family's betrayal, and the young couple met a tragic end. The bells tolled that night, as if mourning their ill-fated love. As the truth of the tragic tale unfolded before me, I felt a profound connection with the spirits. They were restless, seeking closure and redemption. With a heavy heart, I vowed to help them find peace. Guided by the ethereal woman's presence, I began researching rituals that might lift the curse haunting All Saints. In an ancient book of occult knowledge, I discovered a ritual that involved ringing the cursed bells once more at midnight. This time, however, it required the bells to ring in unison with a pure-hearted soul's fervent desire to break the curse. Determined to aid the spirits, I returned to the church on the following midnight. I climbed the bell tower, heart pounding in my chest, and reached for the rusted bell's ropes. As the clock struck midnight, I pulled with all my might, and the bells began to toll. The sound reverberated through the graveyard, harmonizing with the whispers of the spirits. With tears in my eyes, I passionately pleaded for the spirits' release, calling upon the power of love to break their chains. As the bell's tolling reached its climax, The atmosphere surged with an intense energy, and a blinding light filled the night sky. The ethereal figures began to fade, their mournful expressions replaced with serenity. In a final, resounding toll, the bells fell silent. The spirits disappeared into the light, and a tranquil hush descended upon All Saints' Church. The curse had been broken. From that night onward, the legend of All Saints' Church took on a new meaning. The locals no longer feared the haunting tolling of the bells, but instead embraced it as a testament to the power of love and the transcendence of the soul. As a paranormal investigator, I had witnessed many eerie phenomena, but the experience at All Saints would forever remain etched in my heart. The spirits had found peace, and I had played a small part in setting them free from the confines of their spectral existence.